Over the summer of 2023, my friend, let's call him Ty, married his wife, let's call her Rose. All names are fake, and they had planned about a week after their wedding to go on a cruise for their honeymoon. Due to a few problems regarding the ship that they were supposed to sail on, their honeymoon was postponed to this month. We found out about 2 weeks prior to their honeymoon that Ty, Rose, and myself were all going to be on the same flight, as I had an interconnecting flight in the city that they were going to while I was on my way for a business trip. Upon learning this, Ty and Rose asked me if I would be willing to pick them up and take them to the airport so that they wouldn't have to also pay ridiculous fees to park at the airport. In return, they offered to split the fees in half with me. I was a little apprehensive because I knew Ty and Rose well enough to know that they are extremely late for everything and that they never plan. I had the fear that if I agreed, it would come back to bite me in some way. At first, I declined, stating that I couldn't afford to miss my flight because I knew that they were not going to wake up on time, nor would they be packed and ready to go. My friend, obviously knowing what I was talking about, gave me a guarantee that they would be packed, would have their dogs dropped off at the dog sitter the day prior, and that they would be ready to go by the time I got to their house. Taking him at his word, I told him what time I would be there, 5 a.m. Our flight was at 7, and told him that I would only wait until 5:30 before leaving, as that would be seriously crunching us getting to the airport and through all the screening. He understood and told me that they would be ready by the time I showed up at 5. 2 weeks pass, and I make my way to their house to pick them up. I got there about 10 minutes earlier than expected, so I decided to sit and wait and figured I would call them around 5. Around 5, I tried calling both Ty and Rose, but everything sent me to voicemail. This was followed up by text messages to both of them. Finally, after calling for about 20 minutes, I went to their door and started knocking and ringing their doorbell. I didn't receive an answer from any of the methods I tried, and finally, by the time 5:30 hit, I had no choice but to leave, as 5:30 was going to be cutting it extremely close as is. I gave both Ty and Rose one final call and left a voicemail stating that I had tried for the last 30 minutes to get a hold of them to no avail, and that I was having to leave to ensure I got to the airport on time. It's about 10 till 7, and I'm already on the plane ready to go when I get a series of text messages from both Ty and Rose telling me that I should have waited for them and that it was selfish of me to leave when I agreed to pick them up. I attempted to explain to both of them in our group chat that we agreed that they would be ready to leave by 5. Come to find out, not only were they not ready to leave, they didn't do anything and had intended on waking up significantly earlier to do the things they said they were going to do, pack, etc. I politely but sternly explained that their inability to plan ahead or to set alarms was not my fault, and that blaming me for their mistakes only showed how selfish and immature they were when it came to admitting their own mistakes, and turned my phone to airplane mode. They were fortunately able to find another mode of transportation to get them to their port city for their honeymoon. Have not talked to me since the incident happened, roughly 2 weeks ago. They told me that they wouldn't even consider talking to me again unless I fully refunded what they paid for their plane tickets, along with the money they had to spend on gas and vehicle wear and tear to drive themselves down there. I told them that there was absolutely no way that I was going to pay them for the mistakes that they made. I'm really torn by this because Ty is my best friend. We've basically been brothers since we were in college. I do feel bad that they had to find an alternative way to get to their honeymoon, but again, the fact that they did not set any alarms or have anything packed to me is not anything I can control. What do you all think? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I think you need better friends, dude. If that jerk said he wasn't going to talk to me, I'd see it for the gift it was. Your brother is a weenie and is, I suspect, used to walking all over you. You've got nothing to be sorry for. You should be furious. Comment 2. Not the idiot. I think they are absolute idiots. They didn't even set an alarm to get up, they weren't packed, they weren't ready, and they're holding you responsible for their own stupidity? Yeah, no, you did nothing wrong. You tried, you went beyond what many would have done. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a busy week since my last post, and boy, do I have an update for you. Remember how Ty and Rose missed their flight for their honeymoon because they overslept and weren't packed? Well, things have escalated, and not in a good way. So, after the whole airport fiasco, Ty and Rose managed to drive themselves to their cruise. But the drama didn't end there. They've been giving me the silent treatment ever since, except for the outrageous demand that I pay for their missed flight and the cost of driving to the port. I was flabbergasted. I mean, we've been through thick and thin together, but this was next level. Let's rewind a bit to give you some context. Ty has always been the kind of guy who flies by the seat of his pants. He's spontaneous, which can be fun, but also means he's not the best at planning ahead. Rose, on the other hand, is usually more organized, but she tends to get swept up in Ty's laid-back attitude. They're a match made in heaven, but when it comes to time management, they're a disaster waiting to happen. Now, back to the present. After they got back from their honeymoon, they invited me over to talk things out. I thought, great, we can clear the air. But when I got there, it was like walking into a courtroom. They had receipts laid out on the table, totaling up every penny they wanted me to reimburse. I couldn't believe it. They even included the cost of snacks they bought on the road. I tried to reason with them, reminding them of our agreement and how I had waited until the last possible minute before leaving for the airport. But they wouldn't hear it. They claimed that as their friend, I should have known they'd be late and accounted for that. It was like they were blaming me for their own mistakes. The injustice of it all was just too much. I mean, we've been through so much together. I helped Ty when he was struggling with his finals in college, pulling all-nighters to study with him. And when Rose's cat got sick last year, I was the one who drove her to the vet at 3 a.m. We've always had each other's backs, so this felt like a betrayal. The confrontation got heated. Ty accused me of not caring about their special trip, and Rose said I was being a bad friend. I was shocked. I've always prided myself on being reliable and supportive, but here they were, twisting the situation to make me the villain. I reminded them of the time Ty lost his job, and I covered his rent for a month, or when Rose's car broke down, and I lent her mine while hers was in the shop. I've never asked for anything in return, because that's what friends do for each other. But now, they were demanding money for a problem they caused themselves. The argument ended with them saying they couldn't trust me anymore, and me walking out the door, feeling like I didn't even know who they were. It's been a few days since that blow-up, and I've had time to think. I miss my best friend, but I also feel like I'm being taken advantage of. I'm still torn about the whole situation. On one hand, I want to mend fences with Ty, but on the other, I can't just roll over and accept blame for something that wasn't my fault. It's a mess, and I'm not sure where to go from here. My sister-in-law demands my designer bag for free, so I plan to sell my house and move away, but her apology can't fix what she ruined. I, 27-year-old female, have recently really started despising my sister-in-law, 25-year-old female. She and my brother got married a year ago, and prior to that, she was absolutely perfect and my best friend. Well, I guess a switch flipped when they got married. I have always had a successful business and have therefore helped my brother build a 3-house property. I paid for around 55% of all 3 houses, and the agreement was always that I own one, my parents own one, and my brother owns one. We never specified which house belongs to whom, but my husband and I had chosen one and lived in it for 2 years. My husband is from another country, so we only spend a few months at the house at a time. Well, my sister-in-law had been talking about how she wants me to exchange houses with her and my brother for no actual reason, since the houses are freaking identical, other than her claiming that my house has a better view. I have said no to all of her requests, since we were already settled in and comfortable. Well, while we were away, she took it upon herself, with the help of my family, to move my things to the house they were living in, and her things to the house we were living in. Mind you, she kept all of our furniture and only moved things such as clothes, pool table. I was livid when I got home, but everyone in my family said I'm being a jerk since I don't even live there half the year. So I just let things go and forgave her, and we were good once again. Keep in mind, though, she and my brother didn't put a single cent into any of these houses. Until now, when I just genuinely am starting to hate her. For work, I source out designer items for clients. I have recently come across this limited edition bag, and before I had the chance to market it, my brother asks me for it so he can give it to her for her birthday. This bag cost me, the seller, $9,700, which I agreed with my brother he can give me exactly what I'm paying for it, since he is family. This means that I won't make a profit on it, but at least I'll break even. I've lately been struggling financially since my husband has been laid off of work and the economy is down. Since I took out a massive loan to help build the 3 houses, my income is lower, and I've been having to work extra hard to barely survive after paying off all my bills. My brother and his wife knew this fully well. Well, yesterday, my brother comes over to me and is like, "Hey, we're one, and there's no money between us. So instead of paying you for the bag, I'll just one day pay off one of your bills." That was bad news since I need the money for my bills, but I was like, okay, at least let me use the bag to do an ad with a certain influencer that I always use, since that girl does a really great job at generating sales, and that'll help me pay for the $9,700 bag. Well, my sister-in-law threw a fit and called me rude for wanting to use her bag for 3 hours in an ad. And honestly, I've just started hating her since, you're not paying me for the item, and you're also not letting me use it to generate the income necessary to cover the cost. The best part is she then inquired about matching shoes. Yeah, right. Buy them somewhere else. And she has a huge temper and gets mad at every little thing. I've now decided that maybe it's time to sell whichever house they deem to be mine and buy a new one further away, where I don't have to deal with her nonsense every day and my family backing her up. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You are not the a-hole for hating your sister-in-law, but you are for letting them treat you like a doormat. When they took over your house and kept your things, you should have called the police. Hire a lawyer as soon as possible and stop being naive. You are already in serious debt because of them and facing financial difficulties. Go after the money you spent on the houses, sell your house, move far away from your family, and go no contact with them. Can you move to your husband's country? That would allow you to create some distance and start saving money. Comment 2. Sweetheart, did you already give them the bag? If not, please don't do it. They are taking advantage of you. They don't respect you. They don't appreciate you. They don't care about your mental or financial well-being. You will never see that $10,000 a day in your life. I promise, the sooner you learn how to say no, the happier you will be. Their entitlement alone is reason enough not to give it to them, if the fact that you were losing $10,000 wasn't enough. Now for the update. 3 days ago, I thought I had reached my limit with my sister-in-law, but oh boy, was I wrong. The past 72 hours have been a whirlwind of emotions and confrontations that have left me reeling. Let's rewind a bit to give you some context. My sister-in-law, let's call her Jenna, and I used to be thick as thieves. We'd shop together, share secrets, and support each other through thick and thin. But ever since she married my brother, things have taken a nosedive. It's like she's a different person, and I'm left wondering where my friend went. Now, back to the present chaos. After the whole house-switching fiasco and the designer bag debacle, I thought things couldn't get worse. I was wrong. Jenna's latest stunt was the last straw that broke the camel's back. 2 days ago, I caught Jenna wearing the limited edition bag I had sourced for a client. Not only was she parading around with it, but she also had the audacity to post pictures on social media, flaunting it as her early birthday gift. My phone blew up with messages from confused clients and the influencer I had planned to work with for the ad. Jenna's actions had not only cost me a potential sale, but also my professional reputation. I confronted her, and what followed was a heated argument that left me in tears. Jenna accused me of being selfish and unsupportive, completely disregarding the fact that she was the one who had crossed a line. My brother, caught in the middle, tried to mediate but ended up siding with her, saying family should stick together no matter what. The heartbreak hit me like a ton of bricks. I realized that my brother, who I had helped so much in the past, was no longer the ally I thought he was. The betrayal stung more than Jenna's actions. I had invested so much into our family property, not just financially, but emotionally as well, and now I felt like an outsider in my own home. Yesterday, I made a decision. I would sell the house and move away. I needed space and a fresh start, away from the toxicity that had seeped into my family dynamics. I started looking for real estate agents and legal advice on how to proceed with the sale. But Jenna wasn't done yet. Last night, she showed up at my door, tears streaming down her face, apologizing profusely. She said she realized how much she had hurt me and wanted to make amends. I was skeptical, but a part of me, the part that still remembered our friendship, wanted to believe her. We sat down and talked for hours. She confessed that she felt insecure about not contributing financially to the family property and that her actions were a misguided attempt to assert some control over her life. She promised to pay for the bag and to respect my boundaries in the future. I wanted to trust her, but the damage was done. I told her I needed time to think and heal. As she left, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness for what our relationship had become. Today, I woke up to find a check for the bag in my mailbox, along with a note from Jenna, reiterating her apology. It was a small gesture, but it showed she was trying to make things right. Despite the olive branch, I'm still moving forward with selling the house. The past few days have shown me that sometimes distance is necessary to preserve one's sanity and well-being. It's a tough decision, but I know it's the right one for me. My offer to pick up my sister's twins turns ugly when she calls me selfish. But when her husband begs for a break, she needs my help. I, 25-year-old, have an older sister, 28-year-old. We are both married. My husband is 28 years old and hers is around 29 years old. She married her husband while I was in college, right around the time I met my own husband, 5 years ago. We actually attended her wedding together. My sister is a stay-at-home mom, and her husband works in finance. Like I said, my husband and I met in college, and he is now an attorney, and I am a forensic scientist. I work on intimacy crime cases. All of that to say that my husband and I are well off financially, while I know that my sister struggles a bit, especially these days. A few days ago, my sister asked me if I could watch her children for the night while her and her husband had a date night. I said, of course. My husband and I watch our nieces very often. 3 girls, 1 set of twins, 7-year-old and 2 4-year-olds. We have even set up bunk beds for them in our guest room, and we look forward to watching them. My husband and I are undecided if we want kids of our own, but we just love those girls so much, and they are 90% of the reason we lean towards yes. When my sister came to drop the girls off, she came inside for a few minutes. My husband took the girls to the kitchen for a snack, and my sister insisted on sitting down and talking to me. She then told me that the date that night was supposed to be a rekindling the flame date, and that her husband recently has not been the same. She said he's been inattentive, rude, mean, and just not the man she married. She proceeded to tell me how she wanted to get a divorce from him, but couldn't because she has 3 kids and no job, skills, or college degree. I told her I was really sorry to hear about this, and I hoped that she could work it out with her husband. She said she didn't think that was going to happen. I told her then that she shouldn't worry about the kids if she needed a divorce from him, because my husband and I could help her with the kids. She proceeded to get mad at me and tell me that childcare is so expensive that she could never afford it while doing the menial jobs that she would be able to do. I told her not to worry about the cost of childcare if she could make it until next year, because the twins go to school next year and that I could pick them up and drop them off from school if necessary. My job has flexible hours. She sort of backed off then and just nodded and left. Today, I got a few angry texts from her calling me a witch, selfish, self-absorbed, and a spoiled brat. She says that I'm a horrible sister for not offering her money or more help because I have so much of it to spare. I reminded her that no, I am not rich, but my husband and I have good jobs and no kids. I reminded her about all of the help I'd be willing to give for the girls and told her honestly, my money isn't just a free-for-all. I would have to talk about it with my husband anyway. She just didn't want to hear any of it. According to her, I'm being a horrible sister, a spoiled brat, and really unreasonable. So, am I the jerk? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I got a few angry texts from her, calling me a witch, selfish, self-absorbed, and spoiled brat. She says that I'm a horrible sister. Is it just me, or does being insulted and called names actually make anyone more likely to help out? Not the idiot, and I would tell your sister that you and your husband won't be able to offer any assistance whatsoever until she makes a sincere apology. Comment 2. Not the idiot. You offered quite a bit of much-needed help and support to your sister. You don't also have to provide money, which she never even asked for. You're not a mind reader. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a wild week, and I've got some updates for you. After my sister left our place that night, things took a turn for the dramatic. Her date night apparently didn't go as planned. Instead of rekindling anything, her husband confessed that he'd been feeling overwhelmed and trapped by their life. He suggested they take a break, which only confirmed my sister's fears. She came back to my place, kids in tow, at 1 a.m., tears streaming down her face. I was shocked when I opened the door to find her there, the girls half asleep in her arms. My husband, who's always been the calm one, took charge. He got the girls back to bed while I sat with my sister, listening to her pour out her heart. She felt betrayed, lost, and scared for the future. The next day, my sister was still a mess, but she had a moment of clarity. She realized that she needed to start planning for a life without her husband. She asked for my help, not financially, but with advice on how to get back on her feet. I suggested she could start taking online courses or look into community college programs. She was hesitant at first, but I could see the determination in her eyes. We spent the next few days researching options together. I showed her how she could apply for financial aid and scholarships. She started to get excited about the possibility of studying again, something she hadn't considered since high school. But then, another news dropped. My sister found out that her husband had been hiding debt from her. Credit card bills, unpaid loans. It was a mess. She was furious and felt even more trapped. How could she leave now with this financial burden hanging over them? That's when my husband and I had a long talk. We decided that we could offer to pay off some of the debt. It wasn't an easy decision, and it took a lot of number crunching and budget adjustments. We agreed that it would be a one-time thing, with the understanding that my sister would take financial literacy courses and work towards independence. When we presented the offer to my sister, she was stunned. She had expected more judgment, more "I told you so's," but instead, we were offering her a lifeline. She accepted on the condition that she would pay us back, even if it took years. The next few days were a flurry of activity. My sister started her financial literacy course and began looking into part-time jobs that she could balance with her studies. She was determined to make this work, for her and for her girls. But just when we thought things were settling down, her husband showed up at our door. He was remorseful, begging for a second chance. He promised to go to counseling, to work on his issues, to do whatever it took to fix their marriage. My sister was torn. Part of her wanted to believe him, to go back to the life they had built together. But another part of her was just starting to taste freedom, to imagine a future where she wasn't dependent on anyone else. They had a long, emotional conversation. Voices were raised, tears were shed, and in the end, they reached a compromise. They would live separately for now, co-parenting the girls while they both worked on themselves. My sister would continue her studies and her path towards financial independence, and her husband would get the help he needed to deal with his stress and financial irresponsibility. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.